welcome everybody. Um, Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to our Tillo Connect webinar 2026 Trends, Crypto, Gift Cards, and Emerging Tech. Um, I'm really excited about this conversation because we're going to unpack something that's both innovative and practical. How crypto and gift cards are coming together in ways that create real value for consumers, buyers, platforms, and brands. I'm going to be honest. So, I understand crypto in the context of the gift card industry and with the partners that we work with here at Tillo. But as a user, I am most definitely still learning. It's something that I find really fascinating, but also confusing. And I don't think I'm alone there. And that's exactly why I think conversations like this are so important. Because if we as an industry can understand how crypto gifting really works, so what's real, what's hype, and where the genuine opportunities lie, then we can make smarter, safer, and more inclusive decisions and choices for the brands and the customers that we serve. So, I wanted to kick off by giving you some insights through statistics, and I did double check these with my experts in the room. So, there are around 560 million. Oh, sorry, you can stick on the first slide, Anna. It's all right. I'm flying along, aren't I? But the first slide is absolutely fine. Thank you. So there are around 560 million crypto users globally. Just to put that into context, that's 1 in 10 adults. So this is no longer a sort of niche product. This is something that we absolutely need to be getting involved with. The full crypto market itself sits around over $3 trillion, and the most practical way to compare that to the payment world that we know is this. So stablecoins moved about $27.5 trillion last year, which is more than Visa and MasterCard combined. That's it from stats. I'm going to leave the rest to the experts, I promise. But it just sort of shows that this isn't a future curiosity, it's a current consumer behavior. And that's why the gift card world should care, right? Because we know that our industry thrives whenever people adopt new digital ways to store, send, and spend value. I also didn't want to avoid touching on the headlines that you'll have seen recently about Bitcoin being up or down, more recently, shall we say. I think in my mind, that's the noisy part of crypto. What matters for our conversation today is the practical bit, and that is the fact that we work through rails and partners where the price risk sits with the experts, the people that know how to manage this, not with the buyers or brands or with our customers who are buying retail gift cards using crypto. Of course, it can impact the customers that are buying crypto, but they will absolutely be aware of this. So today we're focused on real adoption and customer value. Now, I am joined by three brilliant panelists. One is bringing a Bitcoin first perspective, one representing the broader multi crypto market, and one speaking from years of experience in gift cards and payments with key insight into the current gift card market. And together we're going to explore what's really happening at the intersection of gifting, digital payments, and the future of customer engagement. Now, those eagle-eyed viewers among you may notice we have a slightly different lineup to that was advertised. Christian, who was going to join us from Fold, is stuck in a very delayed flight. He's up in the air right now. So a huge thanks to Will for stepping in at the last minute, and a massive thanks to our marketing team who actually managed to completely update all of the photos and everything as well. What can I say? Showbiz. So I'm going to hand over to my panelists now to let them introduce themselves. So Ray, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Katie. Really good to speak with you and everyone on the panel again. I'm Ray Conger. I manage operations for Bitgem. We are a cryptocurrency gift card slash voucher system that is redeemable for Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, USDC, and now Solana. So just to overview, the product works by, we sell our product through distributors like through Tillo, who reach end users, who then come back to our platform to redeem for cryptocurrency. We launched in 2023 and have been really excited about this kind of intersection of retail and cryptocurrency as a potential really productive channel. So excited to be here.
Thanks very much, Ray. Will, over to you.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. My name's Will, and I'm CEO of Fold. And really, I've spent the first part of my career building technology and consumer products in Silicon Valley. But I have to say, what we're building now at Fold has really been the most important and exciting work of my life. Really building the bridges between traditional finance and Bitcoin. And the way we do that is we help everyday consumers earn and use Bitcoin through experiences they know and trust, like gift cards, debit cards, and today we stand as a NASDAQ listed company. We have developed some of the best partners in the industry, including Tillo, and are really excited to be here to share, how we see the industry, how we see the opportunity. And I think one lesson here is we are still very early. This is a extremely fast growing nascent customer base, and there is very real revenue and very low risk now with the whole industry in terms of regulatory coverage. So I think this is an incredible opportunity for the gift card industry.
Thank you so much, Will. And lastly, Damien.
Thanks, Katie. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on where you are. My name is Damian Glista. I'm a senior strategic account manager here at Tillo. I've been in fintech and payments for over 20 years. But in my current role and the perspective that I bring today is I work with our buyers of gift cards, but also through our team, the brands that seek to find and identify new audiences and new consumer bases to grow within. So what has me so excited about this is I see a real potential win-win situation, but I know there's still a lot of questions and uncertainty about it, and hopefully today's conversation can go a long way in getting past some of those questions and concerns. So excited for the conversation. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Damien. And thank you also to Rich for jumping in on the Q&A to say that you can hear and see us also. Very helpful. Thank you. Right, so first off, please get your phones at the ready. We are going to do a Slido poll. We're going to ask a question at the start and at the end. So we would like to understand, where do crypto gift cards sit in your organization strategy today? So please go ahead, take your phone out, scan the QR code and answer the question for us. Are you piloting them? Are they on the roadmap? Are they under evaluation, or are they not currently planned at all? 6 people, not currently planned. Interesting. Heavily not planned. Keeps climbing. We'll give you a couple more minutes. We're going to ask a question at the end that hopefully will have some different answers in terms of post all this great information we're going to share, how you feel about it then. Thank you for all. Well, I mean, to be fair, this is a great answer for us, right? Because if they're not currently planned, then it means that we've got the opportunity to talk a lot about it and to help our attendees understand. Great. Thanks, Anna. So, when we talk about crypto gift cards, there are actually two sides to the story. So, we're going to explore them both today. So first, what we mean is crypto brands as gift cards. So that's companies offering Bitcoin or multi-crypto products that can be bought and redeemed just like any other card. And then second, is retail brands participating in crypto marketplaces. So that's where traditional gift cards are being sold and redeemed within a crypto ecosystem. So helping you to reach entirely new customer segments. So whether you're curious about how these products work, what compliance looks like, how brands can safely navigate and sort of strategically engage in this space, our goal today is essentially to make crypto feel a little less mysterious and a bit more actionable. So hopefully we'll sort of get through that. And our plan is at the end to leave some time for Q&A too. As we go through though, please do drop your questions into the Q&A because we can then collate those, pick them up at the end. And if we run out of time, we will be sure to follow up with expert answers for you as well. But continue to drop those into the Q&A as we go. So thank you very much. Anna, on to the next slide, please. So what's the big deal? First question I want to ask to all of you is, what's driving demand for cryptocurrency? Can you give me a sort of brief snapshot of the current environment? Will, I think you were going to be able to talk to us a bit about the sort of Bitcoin and US lens.
Absolutely. I think really when you think about what's driving demand for cryptocurrency, it's good to go one step below. Clearly, there are hundreds of millions of people who own crypto in the world today, but when we look specifically at the US, we see that is largely driven by a very specific cohort, those 18 to 35 years old. And when you think about their experience growing up, many of them coming to age after the 2008 financial crisis, coming to age in a time when the traditional modes of financial empowerment and progression have largely gone out of reach. You think of home ownership being increasingly out of reach. You think of persistent inflation. You think of very difficult job markets. And even today, you look at a very high percentage of Gen Z and Gen Alpha have very real fears that their jobs will be put at risk by the advancement of AI. And so you're talking about an entire generation that has had been under these pressures. But there has been one incredible bright spot in their experience, and that is that Bitcoin in their lifetime has been the best performing asset. And it is something that they have seen make real advancements for them. And that is why it has become such an important asset that is not at the fringe of their financial toolkit. It is at the very center of it. And today, you see that demand rising. Now, what has happened is as they've turned to Bitcoin as an important piece of their financial future, the rest of the world has really taken notice. And what you now see is that Bitcoin, specifically in the US, has now become nearly ubiquitous. It is no longer being embraced by crypto-focused exchanges. It's at the heart of the largest financial institutions in the United States. In fact, in the last month, BlackRock has reported that Bitcoin ETF is their number one driver of revenue now. One of the largest financial institutions in the US has reported Bitcoin is the primary driver of revenue for across all of their products. And you even look at the institutions that didn't immediately embrace Bitcoin. Those like Vanguard, they resisted listing the Bitcoin ETF and Bitcoin exposure. And this week, they have announced that they are now making Bitcoin available to their customer base. The story here is that has cemented itself as one of the most trusted financial assets of the next generation of consumers and savers. And at the same time, the financial institution has recognized that if they don't accommodate this view, not only do they risk majorly losing out on massive new revenue streams, but also on relevance at all for the next wave of consumers. And so what we're seeing is as Bitcoin has been in demand, driven by demand by the new wave of consumers, it has been adopted by the largest, most trusted, highest reputation financial services in the US. And at the same time, we've really achieved regulatory and compliance clarity. It is no longer a brand risk or a compliance or regulatory risk to accommodate this. So really the entire landscape has been set not only for consumers to benefit from this asset, but also those that can provide access to this asset to really benefit and transform their business.
Brilliant. Thank you, Will. An ETF, for those on the call that are very new to this world, can you just give me a 30-second what that means?
Yes, essentially an ETF is, it's an exchange traded fund. This allows people to essentially buy Bitcoin in a way that they can do it through a typical brokerage. So you can go onto your Fidelity account, your Vanguard, your JP Morgan, and you can buy the Bitcoin ETF. There are many ETFs that wrap other types of assets, and it gives you a exposure to the underlying asset. And it is simply another way of accessing Bitcoin. In the same way, another way of accessing Bitcoin is buying a Bitcoin gift card.
Absolutely. Lovely. We love that connection. Thank you. I will continue to ask questions like this so that we make sure that everyone on the call today is understanding what we're talking about. I say we, like I am, I'm not an expert here. Absolutely. That's why we've got you guys. Ray, I'm going to hand over to you. You're going to be able to talk to us a bit more broadly, US and Europe and outside of Bitcoin as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think Will mentioned it in his intro that it's important to remember how early we are in this kind of period of the evolution of cryptocurrency. If you want to make the kind of obvious, but not necessarily exact comparison to the early internet. We might be in kind of the late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. At which point the kind of use cases might be not apparent really to everyone. There are people who maybe laughed at, the internet. What does that do? I think there's like a Simpson meme or something. We are still at the point where we're building the new rails of a financial system that I think is definitely here to stay. We'll just list it off kind of the hold that it's taken on things like regulation and big institutions. If you think about other use cases that we were already seeing take place, stable coins is really one of the big ones that we're seeing. Katie, you mentioned the volume is greater than that in Visa and MasterCard. There's huge demand for making payments peer to peer with these stable coins, and Bitcoin is kind of the apex of cryptocurrency as far as kind of brand recognition and its trustworthiness, I'd say. But there are still things that are maybe not as useful for people if you're making payments. So stable coins are something that have become kind of a huge part of the crypto environment that people are looking to access through. And if you think about it, through not just the US, but then globally, there's huge demand for these types of products. In the US and Europe, there's, very good financial rails. We have credit cards, we have debit cards. In countries in Latin America and Africa and Asia, the currencies might be less stable. The technologies might not be as good. Giving access to folks to make transactions is extremely valuable and something that the cryptocurrency kind of space is now kind of available to people that wasn't before.
Great. Thank you so much, Ray. Um, and so what does cryptocurrency have to do with gifting and gift cards? Damien, I'm going to come to you first. We're going to wait for Damien to unmute.
My mouse just went crazy at the wrong time. I was trying
How
to get
very 2020 of us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what does it have to do with gifting and gift cards? Well, I mean, I think there's a couple pieces to this. One is giving the gift of crypto, as our other panelists have said, this is something that people view as an investment opportunity, right? What other gift can you get that's going to potentially gain value over time? So the appeal of those gift cards, I think, is real and something that we've seen a lot of demand for. When we roll out new crypto gift card offerings, they do well, and we're actually seeing nice increases in all of them as it becomes more and more commonplace. I think the other thing that's really come to the forefront too, and we probably owe a big debt of gratitude to, fintechs like BitGem and Fold and others that allow people to now conduct normal commerce using cryptocurrency. I think previously it was viewed a bit more as sort of like an investment. You buy it, you watch it. But now people have the ability to transact in the real world, and gift cards have come in as a way to redeem cryptocurrency for a gift card for your favorite merchant. We know that 18 to 35 generation wants to do everything on their phone. These are digital gift cards that can be rendered in real time. So you've now taken the friction out of the experience that allows you to not only have your asset in crypto, but bring it to life in the real world. And then I think the other use case that we're seeing a lot of is driving rewards and incentives, right? All of us on this call know the power of gift cards to do that. But as these new apps are rolling out and they're trying to gain user adoption, get certain behaviors, recurring transactions, they can reward them through gift cards. So I think there's a really nice intersection where all of these things come together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Damien. That was beautifully put. And I think this idea of frictionless, that's absolutely something that we talk about day in, day out in the world of gift cards. So the fact that it applies here to crypto too is super important that we see that sort of commonality there. Ray, Christian, obviously Fold and BitGem both have their own gift card products. Sorry, Will, going backwards. And so, but Will also Fold sort of allows people to leverage the gift card marketplace model too. Ray, anything that you would like to add from a BitGem perspective in terms of sort of selling your own brand as a gift card?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the crypto gift card overlap is a really big one, and is something that kind of is a natural fit for those who are looking to kind of receive something and have it kind of spark that bit of joy. I think I do not want to besmirch other brands and other products here, but sometimes you want something maybe a little bit more exciting, something that you have heard a lot about and haven't been able to get your hands on previously, maybe because it's too daunting. So I think that this opportunity with gift cards is a really interesting and good use case for getting people into crypto. So I think that the gap that we're looking to achieve with getting kind of people onboarding into cryptocurrency, making it useful so that they're using it for things possibly like savings, for things like payments, things like gaming, things like that. This is a particularly useful tool to get people to do that.
Absolutely. I think it's a nice sort of first safe step into that space, isn't it? To sort of test the waters if, people are using crypto for the first time, for example. Will, anything to add from your side?
Yeah, I think this is a very relevant conversation today because we released a study today that we conducted with an external partner that found that 60% of US consumers want to gift Bitcoin for the holidays and for important life milestones. And to many people outside may think, what again, what is driving this desire? What is driving this at all? And I think it really boils down to, three things. Number one, gift cards, as we all know, is the number one gift in America. The second insight is that Bitcoin is the fastest growing brand and financial network in America and actually in the world more broadly. So when you combine these two things, it becomes a very powerful effect. Uh, but the third, I think, is pretty massive, is that and why it's very relevant for this group is that today there is no good way of gifting Bitcoin to other people outside of a Bitcoin gift card.
Mhm.
When you to receive Bitcoin typically requires you to have a wallet set up that is not necessarily a straightforward process for the average consumer. The Bitcoin gift card provides the perfect vehicle to gift Bitcoin, and it's almost a opportunity for this industry to have a monopoly over gifting what is the best performing asset, the fastest growing asset of the last decade. And so this is where a lot of that opportunity for this group is really clear. There is no other way to gift this asset, which is the number one revenue driver for BlackRock and is the number one financial asset for those 18 to 35 than the gift card industry provides. And that is where a huge opportunity lies. And it all now the only thing that is missing is distribution and awareness. Um,
Absolutely.
and so we think that this is a key insight that is going to this as Damien mentioned, they're seeing, great growth in this category, but this is only going to compound and get bigger and bigger. And those that adopt sooner will reap the largest benefits of this. And this is why we're very excited. This year, the full Bitcoin gift card is now being distributed at 2,000 Kroger locations in the United States with many other large brands on the heels that are coming after as well. Of course, we have a lot of digital distribution from those like Tillo, but this secret is very quickly becoming not a secret, and those that embrace quickly will reap the most benefits. And it's not something that's happening on the fringe; it's happening by the number one category leaders in each distribution, whether that's retailers, marketplaces. So I wouldn't be surprised that next year that these products become an absolute ubiquitous part of Bitcoin or of the gift card industry.
Absolutely.
Um,
Thank you, Will. Sorry, I'm going to jump in because I'm
yeah,
conscious of time and I want us to get through lots of questions. So, I think the key thing for me is that, get the yes, absolutely, gifting Bitcoin through gift cards is super, it's the easiest way for us to do that. The other thing is that it's access to a wallet of money that, people have these 560 million cryptocurrency owners worldwide, there is money there. And when we allow our retailers to safely play in that space and sell their gift cards to be bought via crypto, it's access to money that's going to be spent on something. And we absolutely want to step into that space. I think, on the surface, crypto and gift cards seem super different. One's about blockchain, the other's about retail, but fundamentally, both are allowing people to store, transfer, and share value in flexible ways. It's just that gift cards are, doing that in a trusted and familiar way, whereas crypto gift cards are doing that in a newer way. But they're digital, they're borderless, and they're going to help us reach new audiences. So I think it's a natural evolution for this industry, actually. It's turning traditional closed loop value into something that's globally accessible and digital, which we know is the way the sort of industry is growing anyway. Um, I wanted to talk a little bit about opportunities and use cases. Anna, if we could move on to the next slide. Thank you. So help us understand, what are the use cases for crypto that make it intersect with the gift card world? Ray, when we talked about this before, you mentioned a little bit about stablecoin and peer-to-peer payments. Could you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to look at the kind of the market. We talked about BlackRock, but then there are companies like Bridge, which is a kind of a stable coin infrastructure company that was just purchased for, billions of dollars. So there is tons of money that is being invested into the infrastructure that is going to allow for peer-to-peer payments with stable coins. And as we've discussed, we've kind of seen the use cases. It's so useful as far as the lowering of fees. A lot of times the transactions can be much cheaper. It's it's there's no the interchange fee that comes along with Visa and MasterCard in a lot of cases. And it's one of those things that we're really looking for now, how to get this into the hands of people. And the gift card is like a really useful tool for someone who is maybe looking, on a shelf online, going to a place like Coinbase or something, which is the biggest kind of brand name, I would say, for, exchanges, at least here in the US. Might be too intimidating, but if you're able to put the gift card in front of people in places where they already are, you will be kind of attracting those users and opening the world to them. We have a team member here whose mom lives in Boston and whose grandmother lives in Colombia, and they are regularly sending money to that person, and it can be expensive. And it's really useful to have things like stablecoins that make it easier to transfer those funds much more seamlessly. So there's kind of the payment side, the cross-border payment side that's been a huge kind of opportunity. Another thing that's kind of coming up is more uses of gaming, things like Polymarket that use crypto. That's a name that people probably have heard of. These applications are becoming much bigger, and I think as time goes on, we'll continue to see them grow.
Absolutely. Thank you. Um, Damien, I'm going to come to you next. Could you talk to us a little bit about that intersection?
Yes, absolutely. So again, kind of going back to the bridge that's now been built between the crypto world and transacting in the real world. Huge advancements there through a lot of the fintechs that we work with, but just the ability for someone to now render a gift card in real time to be able to use at their favorite merchant and use their crypto balance to pay for that is a bit of a game changer. We're also seeing the associations lean into crypto now. So Visa and MasterCard, 5 years ago, if you would have asked them about crypto programs, they would have, held up their hands and said no. But that's all changed as well. And even on the incoming payment side, you've got major, payment processors like Stripe and Shopify that are now accepting payments this way as well. So I think what's exciting here is that there's the opportunity to now have access to this consumer group that you didn't have access to before. There's massive amounts of dollars out there that can now be transferred into the real world. And you have an opportunity here, an opportunity to have your brand be part of that, to be able to make purchases and just again, removing the friction from the experience, and providing everybody with just something that's really smooth and easy to manage.
Thank you, Damien. I think that's super key, isn't it? Making things easy. I think we want that to continue in the gift card world. So actually, if this is something that can continue down that road, that's really helpful. Absolutely. The other thing for me is for brands. This isn't about launching a crypto product. It's about being discoverable in new ecosystems, right? So listing your gift card as a brand on a crypto marketplace, it sort of exposes your brand to a whole new audience, essentially. They're typically younger, they're typically tech savvy, global, and those consumers are already holding on to crypto. They're just looking for ways to spend it. So if we can help leverage that, then it's a win for everyone in the value chain. We know that crypto platforms are managing the heavy lifting, the conversion, the compliance, which we'll come on to in a little bit. And Will, I know that you've got a lot to say on that, so I'm going to come to you for that in a moment. Um, and the customer experience too. So the brands are able to engage in that without the added complexity, which I think is really important. It's about simplifying, giving us incremental sales, new visibility, and access to those digital first consumers. Um, Great. So I'm going to stay on this slide, but ask one more question on it. So, what would you suggest are your biggest challenges when it comes to distribution? Will, I know that when we talked previously, I think education and perception is a key challenge.
Yeah, I think that's really about what we're doing here on this conversation. It's education and perception. The education, though, is not happening to the broader market. There is existing demand. 60% of consumers want to gift Bitcoin. Almost an equal amount want to earn rewards in crypto, and there's 50% of young people age 18 to 35 have crypto to spend, and sometimes that crypto is just a digital form of a dollar. It's very simple and they want to use that. And so really the demand part is really set. What is still needs to be worked on is the distribution part. And that's why we spend a lot of time with distributors, marketplaces, retailers, educating them on the opportunity, how it works, how the entire ecosystem has completely changed, and why this represents a massive opportunity. And really, what we've found is while that education is still at the beginning stages, all of the major retailers and marketplaces in the US are actively working on what their strategy is here. And so we think it is only a matter of time. But these are the conversations I have every day, just bringing this to be something very familiar. And absolutely, today is now something that really holds none of the brand or career or reputational risk that may have been perceived 5 years ago. As Damien said, this is now becoming how people make their careers in their own organization by creating an entirely new revenue and growth strategy for the organizations they're operating in.
Fantastic. Thank you, Will. Ray, anything that you want to add on there? I think you've said similar. It's education, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. The thing that we're selling is a commodity. It's Bitcoin. It's not owned by anyone. There's no kind of corporate board or anything like that. It's this it's this digital currency, obviously, and then there's the brand that sits on top of that. I think the challenge with distribution is kind of making sure that those things are distinct and understood, and that we're selling, through our partners, that we're providing access to this open source, set of rails that's how you described it. And I think that's really apt. It's a closed loop that turns into an open loop. And it's a really kind of, I think, unusual dynamic for this space, but something that there needs to be education about in terms of just kind of what it is that people are kind of selling and what it is that they're getting in return. And I think having kind of trusted brands is the key to having access to these cryptocurrencies.
Absolutely, I agree. I think ensuring that sort of brand consistency and confidence as new channels like crypto marketplaces emerge is what's so vital. It's why discussions like this are so important. I think, it reminds me of cashback ultimately. We were having this discussion about cashback as a vertical in the B2B gift card space and still are to a certain extent. The the concern that's sort of around that and um, as a channel and the understanding and making sure that we can see how the brand is being positioned and the confidence around what it is that is really meant and what really happens in that industry. I know that the challenge is sort of balancing the reach that we get from this with the brand control and wanting brands to be represented accurately across all distribution channels. But I don't think that differs fundamentally between crypto and other verticals that we have access to. Um, Now, Damien, what's interesting is that you haven't experienced these challenges in the conversations that you've been having.
Right. I mean, I do focus primarily on the buyer or distributor
Mhm.
side of gift cards, but we have a ton of demand from consumers. We have a ton of demand from our partners and distributors. If I could wave a magic wand and ask the genie for one wish, it would be for some of the brands that have kind of had a historically no policy to crypto to listen to conversations like this, listen to some of those stats that were thrown out. I mean, this is not fringe anymore. This is very much front and center, part of the normal world of commerce. And I think there would be a huge unlock in terms of access to a new consumer base, new dollars into the ecosystem, if everyone would just have another look and give it a shot.
Absolutely. I love that. I think it's about growing the ecosystem, isn't it? We all, as we say, we all win when this industry thrives. And I think as, aggregators in the industry as well have a responsibility to ensure that the onboarding and the education happens and not just saying no themselves because of their own perception or concerns. So I think you know, we should absolutely be exploring opportunities in this space on a case by case basis rather than blanket. I think it's really easy for us and to sort of say, crypto's a no go, but there might be use cases within that space that actually are comfortable and are in a nice way to sort of enter into the crypto market and get hold of that spend that is absolutely happening while still creating a really brand safe and compliant environment. And on that note, we're gonna jump to the next slide and talk about debunking some myths because I think that's why lots of you are here. There are still lots of myths in this space. I think, lots of things that I hear are crypto's too risky, it's too niche, it's too complex. But from a brand perspective, I think when you strip it back, it's just really a new way for customers to buy and use your gift card. And the three of you have all talked about from a buyer perspective why it's important. It's a new way. Again, I've said this already, but we're reaching a digital first audience. We can operate cross border. It's an easy way for us to access global customers as well. And you don't have to become a crypto brand or a crypto buyer to participate. It's about access and not identity. It allows crypto holders to spend their digital value, but in a sort of trusted and mainstream way. So, Will, I'm going to come to you first. What myths do you think exist when it comes to crypto that you could debunk? And I think a really big one that we hear a lot about is this sort of regulation, compliance, customer demographic. That's if you could talk a bit to that for us.
Yeah, I think the first is absolutely there's a conception that Bitcoin is the Wild West and there's no regulation, and that truly could not be farther from the truth. And it's partly because it's a new industry. The players that are operating in it, Fold included and others, have had to be the most compliant, the most focused on providing a regulated, trusted, secure experience for customers. And now the ecosystem has gotten much broader. This is why Fold was the first company that Visa partnered with in the industry back in 2017. This is why we are partnered with Stripe and many major of the payment and financial services companies out there, because they see that regulation and compliance is not something that is secondary. It's primary to this product, and it's part of our value proposition. Like Katie said, this is what we offer. We offer a way to experience Bitcoin that is providing all of the compliance and regulatory needs to operate this business. That is not something that falls on any of our partners. That is what we excel in. And in fact, was a major reason why we went public. We thought there needed to be a trusted, transparent partner in this space. And that's, I believe, what has given us a lot of traction here. And again, you see this now. Bitcoin is now a part of every single brokerage account in the US today. There is no financial institution that is not offering at least some type of exposure to it. And it has truly been folded into the compliance and regulatory framework of the US. So that risk is really gone. And I'd say the last bit that I think is important to us is there is a conception that Bitcoin is just for people who want to be trading and speculating and essentially gambling on this environment. And really, when you look at our customer base, they are young people, but they are using it in very boring use cases. They want to use it to save. They want to use it to fund their next purchase at the grocery store. They want to get paid in it, and they want to gift it and gift it not only to their friends and family, but also from an inheritance perspective. So this asset is not really a confined to any stereotypical fringe. It's really providing very core use cases for very legitimate, very important use cases for the next generation of consumers. And that is what is driving Bitcoin today is the regulatory clarity, the companies that provide wholesale that compliance structure, and people who just want to use it, everyday people who want to use it for everyday things.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Will. I think that compliance and regulatory thing is so important because I think it's where we get a lot of pushback and a lot of questions. So, the fact that Fold is publicly traded really sort of feeds into that. We're getting lots of great questions coming through as well. Please do keep them coming. We will touch on some of these towards the end. And as I said, if we don't get a chance to get to them, we will follow up to everyone that's attended with answers to those questions. There's some interesting ones here wanting to talk to real end users on why and how they're using it. So maybe there's an evolution of this panel where we rope in some consumers who are using crypto in their everyday lives. Um, Ray, can you talk to us about some of these sort of myths that exist, fraud, UX? I know that those are things that we get pushback on as well. Anonymity, that sort of thing, worries around it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I think this ties in exactly to what Will was saying, which is on the fraud level. So I think it needs to be said that I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, there's no fraud. This is not something that plays the industry. I will tell you that like I get like 5 text messages a day saying that my Coinbase withdrawal has been initiated. So there are people out there in all types of industries that are doing fraud. And I think people in the gift card industry are really
There's
familiar with
fraud
fraud.
there too, right? That's exactly what I was going to say. I think if you're in an industry that's booming and growing, then you're gonna see it, right? Because fraudsters
There's
tackle it.
it's going to exist. And I think the thing that needs to be understood about cryptocurrency gift cards is because of the regulatory requirements and constraints. We know a lot about the people who are redeeming the cards and using them more than probably most gift cards. A lot of brands you'll sell, and it's kind of off into the ether. So we are collecting a lot of information on users when people redeem, and then withdrawing, let's say, their funds. It's done on the blockchain, which is a open source ledger that we're able to see where they're going and do things like OFAC checks and transaction monitoring. So there are a ton of tools that are in place related to the cryptocurrency. And it's one of the kind of major developments of the industry is just the infrastructure around being able to detect fraud, to prevent it, and to act decisively to make sure that it's not something that blows up in your face. So, we have a lot of tools at our disposal, as a provider that can stop fraud or at least kind of identify any trends and prevent it. And to this to kind of reinforce, in our experience, there hasn't been kind of an outsize, things like chargebacks and things like that. That's something that was brought up to me at the conference that we just haven't seen yet through our partners. So
Right.
it's part of the industry. It's kind of baked into how we think about the products, and this goes to kind of the compliance issue. But it's something that we feel confident is actually able to help. companies that are worried about this being a bigger problem.
Great. I think some of that noise doesn't help either, does it? I was watching a crime program the other day, and they're running after these people that have used crypto to fund these terrible, terrible things. That I think that noise just comes about a lot, and it's something that it was almost probably the first thing that I heard about with regards to crypto. And so that immediately puts this negative slant on it, right? That it's just not the case.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's again, it goes to the education part of it, and it's also then kind of going back to kind of respected brands, staying
Mhm.
to companies that you trust. So
Absolutely. And this anonymity piece, I mean, it's something that's come up in the gift card environment too. It's a problem that we've had here previously, continue to have sometimes, being able to understand where that end gift card is ending up. It's sort of the same on both sides. And um, Damien, I know that you had quite a bold thought on that too.
Well, I mean, we were chatting about this in the run up, and there's another really cutting edge method of payment out there that's anonymous, cash. So I don't know if
Super
anybody's
cutting
planning
edge.
on banning that anytime soon because it's somewhat anonymous, but just as by way of comparison, I mean, I think another thing to think about with these myths as well is the sense that there's some type of loss of control.
Hmm.
If you're a buyer, you can still review all your options, choose which ones you want to offer, which ones you don't. If you're a brand, you can do your due diligence on the distributor, the use case, everything else like that. So that I think is another important piece to keep in mind that this isn't any different than any other brand or partner that you would potentially work with, and you have your opportunity to do your due diligence.
Absolutely. Thank you, Damien. I've got two questions left, but I'm going to roll them into one in the interest of time because I do want to manage to get to some questions live with you all. So, um, two things. I think if I'm a brand leader or a buying partner that wants to operate and I'm on the fence, but there's an exciting opportunity for me, how would you convince me that it's worth exploring? And can you also tie into that any exciting sort of trends that you're seeing that are particularly relevant in this space to our audience that we've got here today? And if we can keep them short, sharp answers, and then we're going to fly to some questions. Will, I'm going to come to you first.
Well, I think very simply, the cost of ignoring Bitcoin and crypto gift cards will soon become significant. And I think when you are a leader in your organization, the thing you want to know is that you're not taking on risk, you're capturing demand. And I think we are very much looking at a situation where over the next 2 to 3 years, um, not only do crypto and Bitcoin gift cards become one of the most gifted gifts in America, but also a large percent of all gift cards purchased in America will be done on crypto or Bitcoin rails, specifically stable coins, as you've seen legislation come out that has enshrined stable coins, crypto, and Bitcoin as core payment rails in the United States. And so there's a very real world in the next 2 to 3 years. You not having a strategy for this will come with real consequences. But the better way to frame that is it comes with massive opportunity for you to introduce a very large revenue and growth tool to your organization that can change careers. And I think now is absolutely the time when the reputational and career risk is completely gone, and now the opportunity is really here for the taking. And you're going to see that cohort of 18 to 35 who have lived in a world that they only know of Bitcoin and stable coins as a core piece of the financial system will very soon be coming into their financial prime, and they will be the only consumers out in the market. And so it's an absolute requirement that you get a strategy together to address this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Will. Yeah, I completely agree. So now is the time, I think, to jump into here is what I'm taking from that. Damien, I'm going to come to you next because we talked, I think it feeds quite nicely on from what Will was saying around what some of those payment processors are doing in this space right now, right?
Absolutely, Will, I couldn't have said that any better. So thank you. I mean, I think again the true opportunity here is unlocking a new market. and unlocking massive cash flows and a whole group of users that want to transact in this method. And
Mm,
ignoring them, do so at your own peril. And again, you're not losing any control. We've demonstrated the regulatory framework. Some of those old hesitations, while certainly justified at the time, deserve to be re-examined.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Damien. Putting the fear into everyone here. If you don't get involved, you're missing out. Ray, anything that you can say to sort of round that off for us?
I mean, I think it was well said by both the other panelists. This is just a huge opportunity. The data shows that there's just massive interest. There's already a lot of people who are in the space, and the gift card is just such a powerful tool for reaching people in so many different places. Its flexibility is incredibly powerful. And then the other thing I would just add is that the space moves really fast. And again, not to put fear in people, but you could be left behind. Also, things change as far as the technologies and the use cases. So one day something might be, seems to be the most kind of prominent use case. I remember when I first, when you first get into something, the narrative changes and then it changes it again. And I think, in the case of cryptocurrency, there are going to be a lot of use cases that pop up over time. A gift card might be the perfect opportunity, for access to them.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I think now is the time definitely to get involved. And although I know that we've got a very broad audience on the call today, and I know that the three of you are all based in the US currently, but we know at Tillo that this is a global opportunity, and there is, progress being made in all the countries and territories that we operate in. I'm gonna pull up the poll now, the next slide. And as we do that, I'm going to ask you to scan this. And as we do that, I'm going to answer some questions. But after today's session, I'd love to know where you stand on crypto now. So, you know, I think the key thing for me is that crypto gift cards connect digital value to real world retail. We've seen how crypto brands make gifting and spending simple. You've talked a lot about how retail brands can join this space safely without taking any risk. So for me, for the brands, it's about reaching new digital first customers. Um, we know the space is maturing, there's stronger compliance, there's trusted partners in this space, there's growing demand, absolutely. And it's a really great time to dip your toe into crypto. It's meeting real world use cases, and gift cards are giving you a sort of safer play, a safer way to play in this space, basically. It's sort of shifting to if to when and how, and we have to sort of step into this space now because otherwise we might miss it. We might miss our chance to do so and we'll be left behind. So I think my advice is to stay curious and start the conversation with the right partners, that will guide you through, definitely. So whilst people fill that in, I love this. Look at this. I'm ready. I'm moving. I'm going to scope a pilot or partner. I'm curious, interested. This is what we wanted to hear, absolutely. And Tillo can absolutely help introduce you to the right people. As you can see, we work with the best in the market, definitely, of joining us on panels. So of course it's important. So we one question that we had from someone actually is the gift card of Bitcoin given as a gift supposed to be held long term by the receiver? It's an interesting one because I suppose, that's when it can fluctuate. So are we intending this gift to be then kept as an investment opportunity? Is that what the intent is behind these gift cards, do you think? Will,
Well,
Ray, you've both come off
I,
mute. Go on, jump in, Will.
all right, I can start here from our experience. So, the way it works when you buy a Bitcoin gift card, you go through KYC. You are then given a experience and a platform in which to hold that Bitcoin. Our Bitcoin is held in insured custody from the highest security standards, and it is a great place to hold it for the long term. And many of our customers do. Really, what we're seeing is that generational shift I was talking about. Many of you may have grown up in a time when certainly I did, when my grandmother gave me a long-term government bond that for Christmas and holidays as the investment.
Hmm.
Bitcoin is going to replace that market because that is what is the desired vehicle for the next generation coming up. And so most of the use case is being held long term, but what we see is that as Bitcoin does fluctuate, and over the long term, Bitcoin has been the best performing asset of the last decade, we see people actually tapping into that value to then use as a payment to go buy another gift card, to buy groceries, to maybe help make that mortgage payment that was maybe a little harder to make one month. And Fold creates an environment where they can use it to save for the long term or tap into to provide for their family or themselves in the immediate term, whether that is putting groceries on the table or taking care of a bill that's difficult, or maybe gifting something to someone else. So I would say if I was to say that the percentage, it's about 70% is about saving for the long term. About 30% right now for Bitcoin specifically is for an immediate subsequent payment that comes from it.
That's really interesting. Well, thank you. I think that tie into the, the shift of the mechanism of saving, of handing over that sort of here's a bond or an investment or a bank account or something. The fact that, crypto can potentially replace that is really fascinating. I'm going to ask another question and come to you on this, Ray. If you've got some insight, because someone's asked the question, which I think is interesting. Is it fair to say that brands that appeal to 18 to 35-year-olds are the ones that benefit most in this space? Or do you think that it's broader than that and it's not as simple? So this person, Rick, has suggested that maybe the gaming brands benefit more because the demographic matches the demographic that are most invested in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency gift cards right now. Do you think that there's a correlation there, or do you think it is broader than that?
Yeah, I do think that there is a lot of overlap, and I think the demographic that is getting into this and it is using it. We were just talking about how is this being used, and we're seeing on our platform, people with stable coins are almost immediately redeeming and then taking it off platform and using it to do other things like put it into DeFi, put it into some place to gain yield, things like that. So there's kind of a more kind of active and kind of experienced user, I think, that's in that case that's more willing to learn and to get involved with the product, and interact with other things that are available.
Play around, yeah.
Yeah, I think the goal is I mentioned, or maybe we were talking about this offline, me trying to onboard my 80-year-old aunt into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And the challenge there was I walked her through setting up account, doing all this stuff, and it was pretty difficult. I would have loved to have had a gift card to just give her that would walk her through the process. So I think that this is like a really powerful tool and opportunity to reach folks from all different demographics, and certainly the younger one is where we're seeing a lot of pickup now as well. But we see a lot of opportunity elsewhere.
Thank you, Ray. Someone else actually asked a question about the Tillo Hub, which is interesting. The crypto is often a rejected sector. And so how do we see large and small retailers adopting the model moving forward with the Tillo infrastructure? Now, education is a key part of this. It's our commitment to you that, we will continue to ask and answer questions and do things like this that help the understanding move forward and try and review things on a case by case basis rather than rejecting on a sector as a whole. So that's our commitment to you. Look, we are at time. There are more questions. We will absolutely follow up with the answers to those from our experts on our panel today. But thank you so much to everyone for attending, and thank you so much to my expert panelists as well. It's been an absolute joy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.